High FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
Veronica Ncube, who is the national leader of AMSA, the activist movement of South Africa. We did attempt to speak to Veronica on Thursday. We had technical issues, and I am very pleased to say that, Veronica, good afternoon to you. We have you back this afternoon.
Good afternoon. It is actually good to be back on the station, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Veronica, so I think it's probably worth repeating because we did have a terrible line on Thursday. Tell us about AMSA. Who is AMSA? What are their aims?
Not a problem. AMSA is a non-political centered movement who put people first and fight issues on the ground on their behalf. Simply put, we are the voice of the voiceless. A watchdog organization that holds government officials and public representatives accountable when they are failing the communities. That's who we are.
Are you aligned to any particular party? Are you pushing any particular agenda?
No. AMSA, like I said, we are not aligned to any political party. We are a watchdog who are holding all political parties accountable when they are found to be failing the communities on the ground, the people who put them there.
Veronica, last week Times Live and many other news sources were reporting what you have supposedly was said. You did not mince your language. You called it like you saw it. You used, I think, to say that you were angry would be an understatement. You seem incredibly angry with what the government has done and how they have handled or mishandled the current situation. You've been reported as saying of the president, you're a liar, and you together with your MPs are thieves and murderers. We are in the middle of a global pandemic, and every day we hear of someone we know who are dying of the virus. All the while, our politicians, officials, and their friends and families are making their bonuses of the century. Do you stand by that kind of a comment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you why. South Africa has more than one pandemic. One is coronavirus and the other is corruption. I'm not going to mix my words when it comes to that. We don't have a cure as yet for the first one, but we in AMSA have a cure for the second one. Like I mentioned in the beginning, AMSA is an activist movement that places the interest of our people first. We are sick and tired of political parties and politicians who see us as just mere voting fodder. Now, AMSA believes that South Africa has more people who are committed to making our country work than those who want to destroy it. Our task is to unite the like-minded citizens to hold our government accountable. In the past few years, if I must quote, we have learned that billions have been lost through corruption, and that irks this movement. This simply means that food was stolen out of the mouth of the poor. Greedy officials, I repeat, they loot coffers freely, knowing that they will get away with it one way or the other. And because of this, we have become a disillusioned nation and have lost faith in ourselves. It is estimated that over 500 billion rands have been lost through corruption. We all know about it. Is it Thabo Simon that I'm speaking to? But nothing has been done. Let me give you one example. I have so many actually, but I'll quote one, the Zondo Commission, which was set up to charge and prosecute the thieves. Have you seen any arrest made?
Not one.
It has only become a talk shop, costing taxpayers so far 700 million rands. Yes,
that was one of the questions I actually wanted to ask you, is how on earth do you explain the fact that there's been not a single charge brought against anybody?
There hasn't been any. I stand to be corrected on that one, but I've got facts, I've got documented proof. All what we see with the Zondo Commission and any other commission that has been set up to prosecute the thieves, they are all talk shops, costing taxpayers. So far, 700 million rands, not a single arrest to date. Do you know that is corruption and how that robs you? And me as a South African, let me answer that quickly. We pay more in taxes. Yeah. We pay more for our groceries. We pay more for our utility bills, fuel, etc. The money that ended up in corrupt politicians' pockets could have been used for infrastructure instead of being wasted like it is, or fixing roads, improving services, creating jobs, poverty alleviation, better housing and decent living conditions. I could go on and on. Instead, it went into the pockets of unscrupulous, vile, greedy, lying and heartless politicians. Now, this is the reason we are quickly heading to junk status as a country. It is that the custodians of our welfare sit in that parliament. Since 1994, many of the politicians have remained as parliamentarians. If this was a company, I'm telling you now, which has been in a deficit and survives on loans to stay afloat, the shareholders would have given them a boot a long time ago. I'm a Tswana speaking, I would say, nkabe ba kgatisitswe kuseni. Instead, we reward them for poor performance by re-electing them. Let's face it, it's no longer a secret anymore. We have the most useless parliament in the world. They are ineffective. They are unreliable.
So Veronica,
they are unprofessional.
That's what one of our listeners has just written in. And said, but you get what you voted for. I mean, that is the way a democratic system works. You're accountable at the ballot box. And if for whatever reason people feel they're doing a good job, they put them back in, which seems to happen election after election after election. How do you explain that?
It is about time South Africans wake up and smell the coffee. People need to realize that our current political system is damn weak and have taken away the power from the voters. We don't choose parliamentarians. Political parties do. And South Africans are hard for. I mean, come on. Go and look at your members of parliament. Many of them have no track record of community service. Some of them open their mouth twice in a year at the most. And that is when they either yawn or eat, or if not to chant a useless and an irrelevant slogan. While the people who are paying their salaries, which is us, we continue to sink and drown in the bottomless pool of poverty and inequality. That is why it is never too late to answer that question. And that is why AMSA was therefore formed against this background, because we believe that there is hope. All is not lost. We can still make it happen.
One final question for you. We understand that we have a president that I think many of us believe has very good intentions, or at least we used to believe that he had very good intentions. Are we not required to support him given his precarious situation? Do we not need to throw all our weight behind him so that he can achieve the reforms and the economic parity that he's looking to achieve? Or do you not buy that anymore?
I don't buy that anymore. Let me tell you this. The responsibility to change lies with each one of us. Our president, his members of parliament, they have had enough ample time. Ramaphosa is not the first president. ANC has been in government for the last 26 years. And as long as we do not hold our politicians accountable, they will do as they please. Have you noticed how protest actions, shutdowns, marches, burning of tires, destroying properties, and all sorts of violence acts quickly set this government into action? Now, this useless government, they have taught us that is the only language that they understand. And I'm sorry, we cannot back up that kind of government any longer. We can't sit by passively as bystanders and hope for some miracle to happen. Otherwise, we're going to wait forever, South Africans. We need to catch a wake-up call.
Veronica Ncube, the national leader of AMSA, the activist movement of South Africa. You're a brave lady. I take my hat off to you. Continue doing what you're doing. Clearly, some kind of change is necessary. And takes guts to do what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Our listeners can continue to visit our website on Activist Movement of South Africa, or even forward their emails on inquiries. We have an email for our social media at amsa.org.za.
amsa.org.za. You heard it here on 101.9 FM. Veronica Ncube, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.